Hi there, Josiah David Fenimore back with another video. We are in Luke chapter 23. Luke chapter 23. We just finished Luke chapter 22. Judas Iscariot has betrayed Jesus, and they are leading him away, and they've led him away to the Pharisees' household or a prison yard. And now they smote Jesus, and they were just mocking him by saying, "Who prophesy? Who smote you, and who hit you, and who did these things to you?" And they're mocking him and taking him to be killed. So Luke 23. And the whole multitude of them arose and led him unto Pilate, and they began to accuse him, saying, We found this fellow perverting the nation, and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ a king. And Pilate asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he answered him and said, Thou sayest it. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. And they were the more fierce, saying, He stirreth up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. Then Pilate heard of Galilee. He asked whether the man were a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged unto Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who himself also was at Jerusalem at that time. So Pilate doesn't want to have anything to do with Jesus. He thinks he's an innocent man. He knows he's an innocent man. And so he sends him to Herod so that he kind of brushes him off to the next issue, off to the next ruler, so he won't have to deal with him. But as we read further, Herod will send him back. And when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he was desirous to see him of a long season, because he had heard many things of him, and he hoped to have seen some miracles done by him. Then he questioned with him in many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and the scribes stood and vehemently accused him. And Herod with his men of war set him at naught, and mocked him, and arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him again to Pilate. So again, he doesn't say anything to Herod. Herod sets him up with a robe, a royal robe, and sends him back to Pilate. And the same day Pilate and Herod were made friends together, for before they were at enmity between themselves. So now they're becoming friends between this whole situation. And Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, said unto them, Ye have brought this man unto me, as one that perverteth the people. And behold, I have examined him before you, have found no fault in this man touching those things whereof ye accused him. No, nor yet Herod, for I sent you to him, and lo, nothing worthy of death is done unto him. I will therefore chastise him and release him. For of necessity he must release one unto them at the feast. And they cried out all at once, saying, Away with this man, and release unto us Barabbas, who for a certain sedition made in the city, and for murder was cast into prison. Pilate therefore, willing to release Jesus, spake again to him. But they cried, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. And he said unto them the third time, Why? What evil hath he done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go. And they were instant with loud voices, requiring that he might be crucified. And the voices of them and of the chief priests prevailed. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. And he released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired. But he delivered Jesus to their will. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Syrian, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. So again, after Jesus is sent back to Pilate, Pilate questions him, and again he says, Well, it's according to your Passover that I released you one prisoner, and I have Barabbas, a murderer, or I have Jesus, who I find no fault in. And yet they still say, Release Barabbas and crucify Jesus. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. But Jesus turning unto them said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming, in the which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bare, and the paps which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Cover us. For if they do these things in a green tree, what shall be done in the dry? And there were also 2 other malefactors led with him to be put to death. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the one on the left. Those are the 2 thieves that you hear about that were crucified on Jesus' left and right hand, as he was considered a transgressor in the eyes of the people for being committed to a death of crucifixion. And Jesus, I hadn't heard that before, but tells the women that were following him, pray not for me, but pray for yourselves and your children for this atrocity that's happening right now. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. And the people stood beholding. And the rulers also with them derided him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if he be Christ, the chosen of God. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the King of the Jews, save thyself. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew, This is the King of the Jews. So they put a plaque above his head saying, This is the King of the Jews. And they scourged him while they killed him. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man hath done nothing amiss. So I love that in this subscription in Luke, where they finally show the thief on the cross that saw Jesus for what he was, that he was an innocent man. The other thief on the cross scourges Jesus while he's dying. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. And so the Lord forgives the man on the cross, the thief on the cross, that asked for forgiveness at the very end. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. So the veil in the temple tore in 2 pieces. It means tore in 2 pieces because of Christ's death. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. Now when the centurion saw what was done, he glorified God, saying, Certainly this was a righteous man. Yeah, the ground shook, tombs were opened, the veil was rent in 2, and all the people that came together to that sight, beholding the things which were done, smote their breasts and returned. And all his acquaintances and the women that followed him from Galilee stood afar off, beholding these things. So all the people, the centurions, changed their tune, worshipped God, praised God, were relenting, they started to relent their position. They started to question their own doctrine and themselves. And the women stood afar off. And all the people that came together to that sight, beholding the thing which were done, smote their breasts and returned. And all his acquaintances and the women that followed him from Galilee stood afar off, beholding these things. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just. The same had not consented to the counsel and deeds of them. He was of Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God. This man went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. And he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man had been laid. Never man before was laid. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on, and the women also, which came with him from Galilee, followed after and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. So they weren't allowed to work much on the Sabbath day, but the Lord was killed during the Sabbath Passover, and so they were able to adorn his body, and then they needed to go back to their commitments to the Sabbath. So that was chapter 23 of Luke. Thank you for joining me, and I appreciate you following along, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.